Let's go ahead and make this battery pocket. Now this one I already worked on the side, so let's start fresh on this one. You can see this is all together here, and the battery does not quite, it looks like it's gonna go, but it doesn't. And even if it's stretched a little bit, it could fit, but it will tear those seams out. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. We'll just pull this open. On the other one, it started off well. Let's go ahead and help it out a little bit. Just going to get in there and take care of a couple of those threads, at least. I hope I got one. Oh, tricky right off the bat. Let's try. There we go. Just had to get that started. So that's coming unraveled pretty easily. There we go. Right down to the bottom. So now I can see the battery pretty much goes in there, and still able to get it clasped. Well, it takes a little bit of work, but there we go. So that's the basic idea, but we need to clean that up. So I'm going to go ahead and take this other pocket and just take some of the fabric and repurpose it. So I'll start with this part, and I think I'm just going to cover up one USB port. So it's about the width of a finger. I'll go about here. All right, probably don't need all of that, but it'd be a good place to start. And let's see how this fits on. So I'll go right over the USB port on that side. And actually, I think that length is pretty good. I think I'm just going to go ahead and stick with that. Make sure that I don't cover the charging port in the middle. And I'll give it a little bit of room too. And there we go. So let's see, hold that in place and mark it. Let's see, I'm just gonna put a little mark in the pocket there. That's good. So you could, I'm sure, use a pen very effectively, but the scissors leave a little bit of a mark there. And then I'll just go ahead and put some epoxy along that pocket right where I marked it. So these epoxies, they come in 2 components, and they'll store for a very long time until you mix them. And then this 5-minute variety will cure about 5 minutes and be very hard. Okay. There's almost always a little bit of residue of epoxy around, so actually I should probably have had some gloves on. There, I'm feeling it a little bit on my hands, but I'm just gonna carry on. All right, that seems like enough. And I'm gonna get this out of the way so I can work on here. Now, I really don't think there much epoxy is needed to get this to stay very well. I even think that just using, like if you were to sew this on or to find a different pocket in the first place, that would also probably work really well. And this is part of the project, is probably one of the most open to creativity of anything, aside from the coding. I mean, there's a million ways, but if you found different pockets, or if you wanted to glue the battery straight into the hat. That would probably work well. You could use your own little fabric pocket of some sort by cutting up some fabric and maybe gluing or sewing that into your hat. It can totally be up to you, just based on what you have or how you want it to be mounted in there. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I'm just going to head and put it back on. Oops. I think I'm a little bit off to the side here. Probably not exactly where I had it, but I think it's going to be quite close enough. Interesting, it's already a little bit sticky, so that's great. And I'm just going to let that cure now. I don't want to mess with it at all for at least 5 minutes to make sure that it is all good. Now let's see how it's doing. I came back at 5 minutes and found that the sample of epoxy here was really just firm. And even now it's still not 100% solid, but I think it's going to be close enough to work with. So I'll just take the weight off here and, oh, some stickiness. What's going on? Oh, yeah, so even though that wasn't part of the plan, I think that's actually a good sign that the epoxy maybe went through the fabric and it is probably very well adhered. That looks great to me. Yeah, that's not peeling off very easily and it's still setting, so I think that it's going to be good. And let's put it in, and I think we've got it. So, looks great. That should hold that in very well. Yes, good. Next thing we'll do is get it into the hat.